The library was silent. Too silent. Only the sound of muffled laughter echoed between the shelves. 3 senior boys cornered the new teacher against the wall, their shadows swallowing the light that filtered through the tall windows. "Welcome to Brookridge High, Miss Wilson," one sneered. "You might be the teacher here, but this is our school." For a moment, she didn't move. Her glasses slipped slightly down her nose as she looked at them, not with fear, but with something they didn't expect. Calmness. Then, in the next second, everything changed. When one of the boys reached out to shove her, his wrist twisted before he even realized what happened. The next sound was the thud of his body hitting the floor. The others froze, realizing too late this wasn't an ordinary teacher. She stood over them, her voice steady and cold. "You 3 just made the worst mistake of your lives, and that was the day Brookridge High learned. Miss Wilson wasn't to be messed with. Brookridge High had seen many teachers come and go, but none like her." Miss Claire Wilson, young, quiet, graceful, walked into the school on a rainy Monday morning with nothing but a worn leather bag and a tired smile. Students whispered as she passed through the halls. Some said she looked too gentle to survive a week here. Others wondered why someone so educated would take a job at a school known for its troubled students and harsh environment. The truth was, no one knew where she came from. She was kind but distant, always polite, but never revealing too much. The principal, Mr. Larson, was simply relieved to find someone willing to teach history at Brookridge High. "Miss Wilson, just keep your head down," he had advised her on her first day. "You'll do fine. Don't get involved with them." He didn't have to name them. Everyone in the school knew who he meant. Tyler, Chase, and Rick, the school's untouchable trio. Sons of powerful parents, they ruled Brookridge with money, arrogance, and intimidation. No teacher dared cross them. A few who tried were mysteriously transferred, humiliated, or simply quit. Miss Wilson, however, didn't seem intimidated. When Tyler swaggered into her classroom late on her first day, dropping into his chair with a smirk, she simply looked up and said softly, "You're 5 minutes late. Don't let it happen again." The class gasped. No teacher had ever spoken to Tyler like that. He laughed it off, but something in her eyes unsettled him. They were calm, yet sharp, like she had seen far worse than teenage arrogance. Days passed. Claire's teaching style was different. She listened, really listened, to her students. She brought old stories to life, connected history to their struggles, and earned quiet respect from students who rarely cared about school. Even the bullies stayed mostly silent, except Tyler and his crew. They hated how she ignored them. To them, power meant fear, and Miss Wilson wasn't afraid. The first warning one afternoon while Claire was grading papers, she found her car tires slashed. A childish prank, she thought. The next day she found graffiti on her classroom board, "Go back where you came from." The principal offered to file a report, but Claire refused. "It's fine," she said with a faint smile. "I can handle it." But inside, a storm brewed. She had faced worse in her life, much worse, and she knew how to handle it. That night, alone in her small apartment, she stared at an old framed photo on her desk. A younger version of her stood in uniform, military uniform, her arm around a group of women in combat gear. Her eyes were fierce then, full of purpose. "Those days are over," she whispered to herself. "You're just a teacher now." But as she lay awake, her instincts told her this wasn't over. The trap Friday afternoon, the school library, it was supposed to be quiet study time. Claire stayed late, helping a shy student named Emily with her history project. When Emily left, the corridors grew still as Claire packed her things. She noticed movement between the bookshelves. Then came the whispers. "Well, well. Looks like the new teacher's alone," said a voice. Tyler, Chase, and Rick stepped out, grinning. "Boys, what are you doing here?" she asked, her tone calm. "Just wanted to welcome you properly," Tyler said. "You think you're better than us? Talking back? Ignoring us in class? That's not how things work here." Claire sighed softly. "I'm here to teach, not to play your games. Step aside." But they didn't move. Chase leaned in closer. What are you gonna do, call the principal? Rick snickered. Let's see how tough she really is. They closed in. One of them reached for her arm. That was his first mistake. In one swift movement, Claire stepped aside, grabbed his wrist, twisted it backward, and flipped him onto the floor. The air whooshed out of his chest as he landed. Tyler froze. Chase blinked, not understanding what just happened. Claire's voice was quiet, almost soft, but it cut through the air like steel. I said, step aside. When Tyler lunged, she sidestepped again, using his momentum to send him crashing into a shelf. Books rained down like thunder. Rick tried to grab her from behind, but she spun, using a precise motion that ended with his shoulder locked painfully in her grip. I've seen men twice your size fall harder, she said, releasing him. Don't make me repeat this lesson. The boys staggered to their feet, stunned and furious, but beneath the anger there was something else now. Fear. Who are you? Tyler gasped, clutching his arm. Claire fixed her gaze on him. Someone who used to protect people like you, until people like you forgot what respect means. Then she walked past them, leaving the library in silence. For the first time, the bullies of Brookridge High had no words. News of the library incident spread like wildfire. Students whispered stories. Some said she was a black belt. Others claimed she used to work for the government. Whatever the truth was, one thing was certain. No one dared mess with Miss Wilson anymore. But behind her calm exterior, Claire carried scars that no one could see. Years before, she had served in a peacekeeping force overseas. She'd seen violence, lost friends, and sworn never to use her training again. Teaching had been her way of finding peace, of giving hope where she once saw destruction. That weekend, she sat in the park, reading a letter from one of her former comrades. We're proud of you, Claire. You're doing more good in that classroom than you ever did on the battlefield. She smiled faintly. The unexpected turn the following week, Claire noticed something remarkable. Tyler began showing up on time. Chase stopped mocking other students. Rick even started helping Emily with her project. It was as if something had shifted inside them. One afternoon, Tyler lingered after class. Miss Wilson, he said awkwardly, I wanted to apologize for what we did. She looked up surprised. You don't owe me anything, Tyler. Just do better. He hesitated. I never had someone stand up to me like that before. My dad, he's always been the kind of man who thinks power means hurting people. Guess I started believing that too. Claire's eyes softened. Real power is controlling yourself, not others. He nodded slowly, eyes lowered. You taught me that. I'll try. And he did. Within months, Tyler became one of her most disciplined students. The trio that once terrorized the school began volunteering, helping clean the library they once destroyed. Even the principal noticed. I don't know what you did, Miss Wilson, he said, smiling, but you've changed this place. Claire simply replied, I just reminded them what respect looks like. Months later, during graduation, Tyler stood on stage giving a speech. He spoke not about success or popularity, but about change, about how one person can make others better just by showing courage and compassion. When he finished, he turned to the crowd and said, To the teacher who taught me more than any textbook ever could, thank you, Miss Wilson. The auditorium erupted in applause. Claire smiled quietly, tears glimmering in her eyes, not of sadness, but of peace. She had come to teach history, but she had rewritten it, in the hearts of those who once knew only arrogance and fear. As the ceremony ended, Emily ran up to her and hugged her tightly. You're the best teacher ever, Miss Wilson. Claire laughed softly. No, Emily. The best teachers are the ones who never stop learning. And as she walked out of the hall, sunlight spilling across her path, the quiet strength in her steps told the world one thing. She wasn't to be messed with, not because of her past, but because of the heart she carried within her. Strength doesn't come from fighting others. It comes from choosing peace even when you know how to fight. Respect isn't demanded. It's earned through courage, kindness, and calm.